All right, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, we're running a few minutes behind today with a couple technical difficulties, but we are officially live for stream number 2 of FunderProTV. How is everybody doing out there today? I'm with Kyron. He was with us on Wednesday, and then we also have Sam. Or do you prefer Sam or Samuel?
I mean, here in Sweden, usually everybody calls me Samuel because it's a
Samuel.
common
Okay.
name. But yeah,
Very American of me to just assume it was Sam, huh?
yeah, everyone calls me Sam when it's from America.
Awesome to be here with you guys today. Excited to get this kicked off. We got Mark New York Open here in 6 minutes. Um, we're gonna, I know Kyron talked about the trade. He just mentioned that he broke his rules that he wants to go over. Um, I have I have a trade or two from yesterday we can go over, and yeah. So yeah, Kyron, you wanna start us off? You wanna talk about this trade that you mentioned, or what?
Oh yeah, I got you. I got you.
I'll pull your screen up.
Okay, so I like this current area of interest that we were at. So gold, I gotta dial us up to a larger time frame so you can kind of understand what happened. So yesterday or 2 days ago, we had that impulsive move to the downside. Yesterday, we started to see a correction back up at an area of interest. And what I was looking at here, if we dial it to the 1 hour time frame, is the reaction that we got off of this level. So this was my area of interest, and I wanted to see essentially a flip from this level. So what happened was price was creating higher highs and higher lows within this smaller time frame structure. I'll break down a trade that we actually capitalized on this high volume yesterday. We got a push down, tapped into my area of interest, and then we had a market shift. I wanted to see this area specifically hold for a continuation down, and I wanted to retest this area here. So that was where I was looking for to take profit there. So I dialed down to the smaller time frame, and then we'll just come down here to the 5 minute time frame. And so when price reached this area of interest, I wanted to see a shift off of this area. We had a bearish move to the downside, push back up, and then this move here is where I actually scaled in my trade. Now, what happened, there's a couple of things that was wrong with this trade, and I was actually able to exit this trade early after I realized, my mistake. So I only closed with 50% in drawdown on the trade I actually executed on. So there's a couple of things that was wrong. One, we had no true market structure shift. Once price tapped into this level here, we had a bearish reaction. But if we take a look on the 5 minute time frame, price is creating higher highs and higher lows within this bullish wave. So nothing yet had indicated that this move here to the downside was in fact going to happen. And instead, I would have needed to see a market shift. So a low get broken here, then a correction, and then a continuation to the downside. And then if you look at the larger time frame, you can see the larger time frame confirmations. The previous 1 hour candle had closed bullish. Coming into this New York session, we're creating higher highs and higher lows on this 5 minute time frame, or the 15 minute. You can probably see it a little bit clearer. We're creating higher highs within this bullish wave here. And you can see we never once got that shift, and price continued to rip to the upside. So instead of looking for these buys, I should have, or instead of looking for the sells, I guess you could say, or waiting for the shift, just getting in on the continuation of the volume that's currently in the markets coming off of that previous 1 hour close within this area here, getting in on this demand push on the 5 minute. Actually, where I took my entries for my sell is exactly where I would have liked to have my buy trade, but it stops below this low, and then these highs to get broken here to this side. And I would likely target, let's see, we got to get a time frame resistance within this area is where I would have looked for my retest. And so in a perfect world, this would have been the trade that I would have taken. I broke my rules, didn't have the market shift that I wanted to see this move to the downside, and we instead ran up higher. I only took a 0.5% loss on that trade because I was able to modify it early. So not bad though.
Nice. How about you, Sam? What are you watching? What are you watching for the New York session today? You have your eye on anything?
Currently for the open, I haven't really decided whether I want to. Well, of course, I'm long as my bias. If you can switch my screen, I can show you some of my ideas. So looking at the Nasdaq on the 1 hour, well, we're very bullish, of course. Initially, my AL setups would be pretty much a deeper retracement down here, due to the fact that if we're looking at discounts, for example, we are trading above the 50%. And I usually don't want to long if we're above the 50%, but in this case, especially now with the Fed that actually yesterday,
cut rates again.
Yeah, with 0.25 basis points. So that for me is an indication that we're gonna go and push longs, even though we might not have the momentum. So actually, the pre-market today for New York was very aggressive. Looking at this, it's very volatile, and I usually don't look at like pre-market as this volatile as it was today. So that was an indication that some sort of institutional activity was trying to form longs or shorts. But with my indication that we were long, overall bias, I wanted to go long, and I actually had a zone, which I can show from here. So looking at this, we have the big point of interest down here, which is basically the biggest volume now that we can see, of course. Now, would we actually have the necessary momentum down here to retrace down all the way down here? I don't think so. It's too much of a bullish market to actually do a deep retracement right now, at least. So what I wanted to look at was basically the biggest volume node, which was here at pretty much above the 50% line. That was the only indication. That was my indication for a buy. And if we scale down to the 50-minute, we can actually see that we have a demand zone here. Let's see if the volume pops up. There we go. So this volume node combined with this demand zone here, I can show you guys a bit better. There we go. This combination basically with the demand from down here, that was the only indication I needed to go long. And I actually want to break down the trade I took, which was a very good trade, but at the end of the day, it was a very bad judgment from my side. So initially I marked out the top of this zone, which was this one. This is the top of the zone that I wanted to buy from. I actually scaled down to the 1 minute after the price tapped into the zone. And as Karen mentioned, he actually looks for kind of a break of structure before entering. But I wanted to be a bit more aggressive on this side. So if we look at the market structure here, we have two lows, two highs, and a low. Now, this one, for me, this move here, was basically my initial long signal due to the fact that we had a very aggressive momentum upwards to these highs. So I actually went long on this candle here. And on the 5 minute, this is going to be an engulfing candle. So we have this engulfing candle. That was my initial entry point. And I actually entered when the momentum on the next candle, which was 5 minutes after, started pushing upwards. Now, if we go back to the 1 minute, the thing that I went wrong on this one was that the 15-minute low was actually here. This is the 15-minute low. I can mark this a bit easier. Let's see. So here is the 15-minute low. Now, when we got this break above the high from here, I actually saw that we were going to basically trade this as a support zone. break and retest basically. And this was the low of the 50 minutes. So my mistake on this trade, and I'm going to be open and honest, I actually set my stop loss right under the 50-minute low. And this is a great lesson, especially for new traders that are looking. When there is a market structure like this, especially if we're trading lower or higher, doesn't matter. Always place your stop loss under the low or the high if you're selling. Now, this mistake was, as you can see, very bad due to the fact that it actually wicked me out and I could have made a ton of percentage. So with that being said, always look for market structure and place stops under lows, or if you're actually selling above the highs. So this was a bit of greed from my side, trying to basically predict where the market was going to move and reject, which was my initial thought up here. But, you know, it was a bit of a karma situation. So I have to on that one.
I've had times where I've struggled with that, like, you know, closing or having the stops too tight and just wanting to squeeze out a little bit more of a risk to reward. Definitely is a learning, you know, a learning thing. Let's see, where is everybody streaming from? It says morning from the US, great to be here to learn. Evening from
South Africa. Yeah, where's everybody else from?
I want to know where everyone is from. That'd be interesting.
Sarky says hello. What's good, Sarky? You was here last week, or I want to say not last week, but Wednesday. Very, very
Wednesday, yeah.
Glad to see you back again. Hope that you guys can get a lot of value
here.
Yeah, I was just we got that initial push across the indexes. And I said I'm still in the position. We got a shout out. We got the stream group chat going. We got a shout out Cameron. I know he's watching. He put in the chat that he took this NAS entry. So I took a little dabble with him. I'm still holding it. I'm aiming for yesterday's high is my target.
Yeah, and I think he's running like a 1 to 8 risk to reward on his trade.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, he had a sniper entry, man. He entered down at like 21,040 ish, I think. I had a little bit of a late entry. So. Got this like little bit of a pullback, and I was like,
But just getting in on that continuation of the volume, even I thought. I mean, even the area where it was scaled was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, this 21,079 area is an hourly level that NASDAQ put in for me yesterday. But yeah, so I'm targeting yesterday's high, pre-market high. We got a little stab of pre-market high, or a stab above the New York high during the pre-market session, but then we failed that. You look at, so this was our high during the New York session, like the intraday high yesterday. Pre-market, we got this little stab above, and then just failed. We got that sell off. Looks like the NAS is holding up so far. Hey chat, is anybody taking any trades in the chat? Anybody in anything right now?
And does anybody know what the interest rate decision was yesterday? We had FOMC yesterday. I want to say
they
2
cut
p.m.
They cut a quarter basis point, another 0.25.
Yeah, what is it at now? Is it 4.75?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the total. It sounds right, but without looking it up, I'm not 100% sure.
I think it was from 5 down to 4.75, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, because I couldn't be wrong, actually.
Gotcha.
And a cable short. Cable? What is cable? Do you know what cable is?
I think cable is GBP USD, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what that is.
Okay.
GBP
I've
heard it called that, I think, one other time, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, you gotta school me. I'm buying that. Antonio, are you already in? Or are you looking for buys now? So Agnia, I don't know. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Agnia, you got to educate me on cable. I think Kyron might have been right there.
Yeah, I've actually never heard the
Educate the
lingo.
both of us because I'm not sure. I've heard it.
The three of
I've
us.
heard somebody trading cable before, and I'm pretty sure it was like one of the assets that I was looking at. It just was called something that I hadn't heard before.
One other thing I want to talk. So Cameron's been talking about his strategy that he likes. I think it's on the 5 a.m. candle. Obviously, we know which one he's talking about. I wanted to show you guys one. I have like a London 15-minute orb double break strategy that I like. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but it's a pretty neat tool. Edgeful.
No, I've
But
never
it's
seen.
Edge pool.
yeah. So it's like they take there's four. So they have like stocks, forex, crypto, futures, and then they have a bunch of different like reports, and they just take data from all these different things and put them into these different reports like you see here. And so like there's gap fill reports, initial balance breakout, orb, opening range breakout reports, all kinds of stuff. Like there's just a ton of different stuff. But it gives
So is
you
that like a backtesting tool?
yeah, it's like a backtesting tool in a sense. Just kind of presents the data in ways that make it like easy to understand how you could apply it to your trades, right? So I'm
Gotcha.
looking at gold. I know Kyron likes gold, but you like here. I'll put up NAS. I know you like NAS, Samuel. But I actually looked at this based off of the futures. But if you look at the NQ, so this orb, and you can break this down by session too. Like, see, this is like New York session, Tokyo, and you can customize these. So London, like a 3 a.m. Open for London, 15-minute orb, double breaks over 80% of the time. And I had a theory that was basically like London would open at 3 a.m. We would, kind of give a fake out in one direction. And then we would eventually reverse that spike and trend into the New York session. That was a theory that I had a while ago. And then when I started using Edgeful, I was able to look at the stats and like, oh, holy cow, that theory really adds up. So basically what I do is I look for that 3 a.m. to 3:15-minute candle, which sets your orb, like your 15-minute high or 15-minute low. And then I wait for it to break one side. Either it breaks the low or it breaks the high. Once it breaks one side, then I will start looking for an entry targeting the other side of the orb, right? So if it breaks the orb low first, I look for a long entry targeting the orb high and then potentially to hold runners into the New York session and throughout. But it's been a pretty good strategy. I mean, I use it in correlation with my levels and trends and candle analysis as well. Like I don't just blindly buy once it breaks one side.
Yeah.
But like using it in conjunction with like my trading strategy as it is, when you get that double break 80% of the time, it's been a strategy that's worked out pretty nicely for me. And I just wanted to show you guys this Edgeful tool. They have a lot of cool stuff, and you can customize this into certain time frames. You can look at this by
I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, so like there's so if you ever Kyra, you have any questions on gold, any data you want me to look up, let me know.
Yeah,
Check it out for
you. Tonio says he entered his NAS by 2 days ago.
Okay, he's swinging.
Yeah, that would have been a
You
great
must
position.
know this. How much you got, Antonio?
Says hello everyone. Good to see you all. It's good to see you too, Trades on FX. Thank you for joining us today.
Edgeful is not a product of FunderPro. FunderPro does have a cool data tool that they just added to the dashboard. I think it's called FunderPro Labs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I can pull that up, show that to you guys too. That's a really cool educational tool that they just added.
Yeah, I actually saw everyone posting about it, but I didn't go and
I'll
check it
pull
out.
up my dashboard here, and I can give you guys like a quick rundown of what it looks like. Well, here while I'm doing this, I'll put up Sam's.
I actually want to check. It said 2 days ago on NASDAQ. I think actually that was the low that we were trying to buy from, Tyler. I think from down here, Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this was
yeah.
actually where we
That's a
looked
good
for
entry.
longs
That's
as
a
well.
great entry on a swing trade.
Yeah.
It is. It's definitely a beautiful entry, especially to hold it over the 2 days.
I was just about to say that's a
Yeah,
nice
2
hold
days.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Tonio, how what are you consider? Would you consider yourself a swing trader, a position trader? Like what type of trader are you? I
Oh,
personally am
you
a
actually
scalper.
said
I know that
engulfing.
most of us are. I want to say most of us are scalpers on the scalper slash intraday.
Yeah, that's what I typically my winning trades I normally hold for over an hour, which I think
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
I think
I
my
wouldn't
highest risk
necessarily
to reward
consider
trades are
as much
generally a
as
couple hours.
yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah,
yes, I
actually,
guess
I think I have a
some
few
people
for
would consider that
hours.
scalping.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually
I
gonna
mean,
check.
and I think some people just generally consider scalping trading on a smaller time frame. So like I'll take an
Yeah,
entry on the 5 minute time frame, but have a daily target. So I have to hold for a little bit longer and have like a higher risk to reward, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, some of my trades are actually a few days. If you're looking at this, I think actually I sent this out in the beginning of the WhatsApp group. I think I did. I'm not quite sure. But this one, I think you had the
Can you
same one,
explain it?
Karen. Yeah. So
mm,
basically, this was the only. If you're looking at the 1 hour, I'll go down to the 1 hour and explain it.
What day was this? Was this yesterday?
No, this was October 25th.
Okay. So last week, got you.
But I think someone in the chat said that they were actually short from around like this area. And
Mm,
I was just like saying like, yeah, be cautious about this, like demand zone for potential longs, and it just whipped up. So I actually didn't enter longs, but some of my positions, like my previous positions, have actually been. No, they're actually you can hold them for a week. So
yeah.
it's mostly the 4 hour to daily time frame I actually trade from, especially on gold with supply and demand.
Mm,
If we zoom in, so yeah, some of these zones are it's like 16 hours, so it's gonna be a while to hold them.
got you. Yeah, I think some of my best trades are generally my highest risk to reward trades happen during Asian session, and I'll hold them through like London, New York volume. So, however
Yeah,
long that takes, I'll close around mid New York session, just depending. Because
yeah. But you
for
you
me,
trade
I
Asian
guess it's
session,
more
right?
so on the structure. Come again?
You trade Asian session, right?
Yeah. I'll trade Asian session, and I don't dedicate every day to trade an Asian session. But if there's a setup that is performing in Asian session, I'll always check in during Asian session. Then I'll
Yeah.
look to execute. We're getting more some of that reaction that I wanted to see for gold here. We're getting a rejection off of 2703, which would have been the ideal buy take profit location. And these areas, if you don't mind me sharing my screen here.
yeah. I actually just added. I was watching NAS for a. I don't think you have your screen up here, Kylie.
Oh, here. I got
Yeah,
you.
I don't know why it's really, but while you get that up, I, yeah, I was just watching NAS for opening print holds. So I added a little bit to my position on the NAS. The other indexes are all holding up pretty good. US 30 just got a nice bounce. There you go. Opening print hold so
We got
far
a
looking
question
pretty
here
good for NAS.
from Sarki. Wait, let me pull it up.
Oh, no, here,
How
I'll add
much
it.
weight do you place on a fundamental analysis in your trading decisions? And which economic indicators do you monitor closely? Well, personally, for me, I don't actually look at anything besides technical analysis. However, I do keep in mind like interest rates because they somewhat decide where the economy is gonna head in the future. So that sort of gives me an overall bias, maybe 2 or 3 months ahead of where price actually could come to. But there's actually some interesting studies. I don't know if I have. There is actually a book from a Swedish technical analysis that there is proof that there is nothing that indicates that the economy or like fundamental analysis actually predicts the future. It's actually a technical analysis before, and there's
If
actually a
there's an
lagging indicator to it. Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree. I think I kind of have that thought too, where it's like the market prices in the fundamental news ahead of time. It's like they always seem to sort of know somehow. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it is kind of
Yeah,
scary. There's actually a study from Spain. I think it's 2016. I'm not quite sure, so don't quote me on that. But when Spain actually went through a hard time with the economy, they actually saw price heading up. So there was a picture of a chart on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, there was actually a picture of every like newsletter that was sent out. And actually, when it was at the bottom, they actually said like, "Oh, the economy is going far worse than exceeded. Oh, the Spain is going under everything, etc." And then when price actually returned and went up like 10%, they kept saying that. So it's a lagging
mhm.
indicator between 2 to 3 months ahead of time with actually the media when price actually reverses. So that's why I actually tend to look for the technical side approach first. But of course, looking at interest rates is always going to be a key indicator where the economy is actually going to head.
Yeah, and I agree 110%. I think when we had our first practice stream, we kind of talked about it a little bit in terms of I feel that technical analysis already has the news priced in, because if you really think about it on a grand scale, the news doesn't affect the weekly and the monthly, yearly charts, right? So if you look at it, and even specifically to kind of talk about what you were talking about, the study from 2016, I think you said, if you look at the dollar during COVID, when we shut down, when the US shut down the markets, the economy was at, on the daily time frame, and think maybe even on the weekly time frame, it was at a key level of supply. And so it shut down in March, and it through that whole year, it had a correction to the downside to a key demand zone, where then after that, the next 2 years, we seen inflation rise, and we had this huge bullish volume. If you go back to 2020, you could see it. We talked about it a little bit there. So I do believe that the news just reacts based on whatever the technical structure is, and that it can, not to speculate, but it can potentially be, priced in that news events help to influence, the volume is what I like to think of it. It helps to influence volume on already
Yeah, that's a
technical
good
direction.
good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. A lot of people, however, say like that is a conspiracy theory that technical analysis work, but I'm not gonna like name out this newsletter said this study said this. I'm just gonna say like do your own research before you accuse like or like make a decision on whether you want to believe it or not. But the studies actually indicate that the market moves ahead of news. That's true.
Mm.
So that's why you can see, for example, insider trading. I think every bank has gone for insider trading.
Yeah,
They know, at least some do, the news before it happens. That's why they position themselves in the market. That's why you actually see volatility come in the market the minute that the news drops. It's computers, it's algorithms that are programmed to pretty much milliseconds to enter big, large liquidity orders.
um,
We got a
Chav-
question here. It looks
yeah,
like
Chavez. I was
you
showing.
take.
Sorry, Karen. Chavez asked about
Oh, no, you good.
the spreads and on gold and forex pairs. I just was when you guys were talking, I was clicking through and showing some of the spreads on gold and forex pairs. So hopefully you saw that, Chavez. If not, let me know. I can show it to you again. Um, go ahead, Kyron.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say we got a question. It says, what did you or what would you advise your younger self in trading? So I guess the thing that I would say to my younger self, if I was like just starting off in trading, is just to be patient, um, and focus on discipline. Because I think at the very beginning of my journey, I wanted to be, successful as quickly as possible. I think we all do with trading. And the reality of it was that trading, it takes a lot of self growth. And so I think I've seen a lot of personal self-growth, not just in my trading, but just in my personal lifestyle, just in general. I have to be more patient, with being able to patient and disciplined. So just I would remind myself to just keep that in mind, to stay patient and stay disciplined, because at the end of the day, if I do those two things, I'll reach the goals that I have.
I think that's good advice. Something I thought about the other day too was like to humble yourself, right? Which is like if you think you're coming in and you're all cocky and you're successful in other areas of your life. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, how successful you are in other parts of your life. Trading is going to humble us all at some point in time when you first get started. So come in with a learning mindset, a growth mindset, and like Kyron said, stay patient.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. If I had one advice, I'd say, yeah, it aligns with humbling yourself pretty much. It's having lower expectations. I actually said this
Mm.
before when we talked, and the expectations of a young trader that's coming into the market right now is far beyond what they should be. You can, of course, you can make money within your first 10 trades, but you're gonna have to pretty much deal with the seasonal things of trading. It's going to be months and weeks of losses, and it's going to be euphorical moments where you have only winners. So you're going to get humbled, as Tyler said, and don't have expectations to actually become a professional trader within a year when it takes about a 4 year to get a master's degree. It's not going to work. The market is pretty much going to humble you, and you have to learn all the seasonal things about yourself and adapt with discipline.
Yeah, that's a great point you said about the degree, and it's like we're attempting to have a career where you can make hundreds or thousands of dollars in minutes or hours by pressing a couple buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make insane amounts of money, right? But it's not going to come easy. It's a very competitive thing. In order to make money trading, you got to take money from somebody else's pocket, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other traders out there that are very good that have been trading for a long time. So it's a zero-sum game at the end of the day. If somebody's buying, somebody's got to be selling, right? So um, yeah, definitely stay the course, stay patient, stay humble. All good advice from the boys.
Yeah, Trey Zone says, is discipline and patience, do they come together? I think they can come together. I think I've become more patient than I have been disciplined. Uh and that goes to show it, kind of like with the trade that I took today. I think that even now I have moments where um my discipline could be sturdier, and that's why I try to structure my life and the things that I do in the day to day to push me towards being better. Things like, I talked about it last week, but just doing the little things. So for me that's important is just waking up and going to the gym every morning. So that to me is something that in my mind is helping me to become my better self, and by showing up every single day, I'm building discipline. It comes down to really more so your confidence in yourself. Discipline is more so your confidence in yourself to stay the course. So as you keep showing up more and more and more, you build up that confidence, and it no longer takes discipline. It just becomes a habit. So I think now more so for me, going to the gym doesn't feel like a disciplinary thing. It's not hard for me to get up and go to the gym. It's almost like my brain knows that I need to get up and go to the gym. And realistically, I tried not going to the gym one day and I didn't feel good. Like I felt sluggish. So I ran
Mhm.
literally last Saturday. And so I went and ran for 2 miles or 2.5 miles. So just things like that. I think it just takes doing the little things, whatever it may be for you. I talked about, making your bed in the morning. That's one good thing that you could do that can put you on the right track. Just focusing on those things. I think you know, patience and discipline go hand in hand, and trading is going to help you with both.
That's well said. I liked that explanation when you said discipline is confidence in yourself. That's good. I like that.
I can't take credit for that. That was in Atomic Habits. I read the book Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, that's where that's from. Okay. We
But
got
I definitely seen the effects for myself though. That's for sure.
so NAS is lagging behind. I have a TP set up here, which is up at yesterday's high. And if you look in comparison to some of the other indices, SPX just broke above yesterday's high, so a little bit stronger than the NAS right now. And US 30 also broke above yesterday's high. Now US 30 had a slow day. Actually, I'll show you guys my losing trade yesterday, based off of US 30. And this is a kind of a good example too of everybody talks about multi time frame analysis or top down analysis or looking at the higher time frames. And I think this is a good example of how looking at the higher time frame structure, like the daily chart, allowed me to take like an intraday trade, which ended up being a loss. It was a decent trade thesis, but this is the US 30 daily chart. And so you can see US 30 daily chart is making new all time highs. We had 2 back to back really strong days. So my expectations on US 30 yesterday was essentially a rest bar, a consolidation bar, like an inside bar type of trading day action. So looking at the daily chart, the bar that we put in, this little red inside bar here, is exactly the price action that I was expecting. And so then if we dial that down to a smaller time frame, you can see this was our price action inside of US 30. And I tried US 30 shorts right around here. Basically, this was the top of our range. I was trying to fade the top of our range and aim for the lows, to see if this would come back down in range again. And I ended up running a stop here. It never did push down, I guess, to those lows. But yeah, I was just trying to play that, fade that range a little bit. I ended up taking a loss on that yesterday. But that's just, I think, an example of how you can use the daily chart to make an intraday thesis, right? I thought the daily chart made sense for an inside consolidation day, so it made sense to play, fade the extremes of the range. That trade just didn't work out for me.
Gotcha. Let's see. Amber says it took her about 4 years to get consistent, but it was the best thing that she ever did. I agree. And it took me around, 2.5, 3 years, I want to say, before I really started to put it together. Somebody said, is Funder Pro mobile friendly? So I use personally Trade Locker, and Trade Locker is very mobile friendly. They have an app that I personally use. So like if I'm not on my desktop or at my computer, I don't generally like to enter trades from my phone only because I can't see the screen as much. But in terms of like monitoring a position or something like that, I definitely use Trade Locker in that aspect. So I agree, it's 100% mobile friendly. Nas is ripping
Yeah,
to the upside here.
nice balls. Yeah, so on that, I'm with Kyron. I agree. I don't like just like trading strictly off of my phone. I like having my computer, my big monitor, and my multiple time frames and all that good stuff. But I will manage trades from my phone, and the Trade Locker mobile app I think is really nice. The chart integration on it is really nice and clean to use. But yeah, so it is definitely mobile friendly. Shout out Cameron. He gave us the NAS signal today. He gave us the NAS
No,
signal today.
definitely shout out.
I think
Shout out
he'll
Cam
be
for
in the
sure.
stream eventually. I think he has some stuff going on for maybe the next few weeks, but Cam will join us on the stream here eventually.
Yeah, he's stuck in the coffee shop right now.
Yeah.
So, Sargi says, can you walk us through how you prepare your trading week or day based on key events listed in the economic calendar? So, for me personally, how I go about every week, and I kind of have like a ritual, I guess you could say. Or not we, but I generally and my community, I look at what the news is for the week. So how I said earlier, I think that the technicals are what the news reacts off of, and that it's going to flow in direction of the technicals. And I just use the key news events as potential volume. And also when you're trading with a Funder Pro account, at least on the fast track or the regular account, there's certain news events that you're not able to trade. So just being able to identify those up front so that you're not in during those times. And then, trading the after effects. But how I go about the news is literally just understanding that, okay, let's say last week we had NFP. So I know that on Friday, New York session, NFP, couple things by knowing this. One, that I can't trade or be actively in a position at this time. So I may need to close any positions that I have available or I have live, and that we can expect some type of volume. And generally, I'll trade the after effects of volume. My screen won't let me quite share here, so I can't break down the trade that I took yesterday on gold on that high volume strategy. But we kind
Do you want me to pull up gold on? You want me to pull the chart up that you can try to tell me, navigate me?
yeah. We could try it. We could try it. So it was gold yesterday, and I can tell you like specifically.
Don't do it to us, Nas. Don't do it to us, man. We want yesterday's high. What time frame you want me to pull up?
You can go to. Let me see. Let me break it down here. Okay, I was started off by with the 1 hour time frame is fine. And then we'll drop down to the 15, and then my entry was actually on the 1, but I do top down analysis. So if you can like make your chart, yeah. So do you see
we're looking yesterday high.
Yeah. So yesterday, you can see we have an area of interest at 2706. Do you see that level that we retested?
27, like here?
2706. Yeah, the bottom of that area there.
Gotcha. Here. Okay. Yep.
Okay,
Here.
yeah. So we hadn't quite tapped into that level yet, and we had a lot of volume for the New York session. So I took my actual entry. If we dial down to the 15-minute time frame, you dial down to the 15-minute candles. We had so much volume yesterday that I had to dial down to a smaller time frame to actually look for my entry. So I took I was reacting off of, shall I say, the 9:30 15-minute candle. So it's like a candle with a wick kind of after the volume a little bit, the 9:30 15-minute candle.
9:30.
Towards the top. Other way.
Other way? This way? Okay.
Yeah. Right within there. So the 9:15. Keep going. It's the candle after the impulsive candle.
This one?
Yeah. So one candle over. That candle. So that candle there. If you could zoom in. So after that candle closed bullish, right? I'm looking for that continuation to that key area of interest. Realistically, all I was trying to do was get in a continuation of the volume. So if we can dial down to, let's say, the 1 minute time frame zoomed into that candle. Appreciate you, Tyler.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry, I know it's like so different when 9:30. So we're right around here, or just today? I'm looking at today. Huh?
That's today.
He's doing hard work.
Yeah. Dude, that's
might have to zoom out a little bit here. Yeah. You gotta go over some more. Let me see if it might let me share this screen.
You should have put a vertical line above it.
Yeah, I should have marked a drawing. Yeah.
No worries. But essentially, just to kind of break it down. Let's see.
Oh no, today's
what time is that?
I need to be looking at
it was the 9:15 candle close, so that 9:30 candle start on the 15-minute. On the 1 minute it's okay. It's okay if you can't get to it, bro. It's no worries.
We're getting okay, I think we found it.
Let me see. Yeah. Right in there. That's exactly where it was at. Okay, so the 15-minute candle low was right where above your that was the 15-minute candle low. If you don't mind, do you have well, you don't have a tool, but it's okay. That was my 15-minute candle low. If you see the high right to the left side of it, if you go up
Here.
right there, yeah, that high had just gotten broken. So what I wanted to see after that high got broken and the start of the new do you see the 1 minute bullish engulfing candle after that high was broken?
There you go, to the right.
That's the high, and then the bullish engulfing is right there, down at the start in the demand
Right here?
zone. Nope, one
This
more
one
over,
here?
2 more. Yeah,
Sure,
that one.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was my entry candle, which also ended up being the previous that current 15-minute candle's bottom wick. So that previous 15-minute candle low was the structure that I was looking to not get broken, and I literally set my target at the 15-minute high, which is the high that broke the previous high. Does that make sense?
Got you. Yep. Yeah, that's
So it just
probably not
was
the
just
most efficient
basically
way to do some of your chart, but yeah, we worked it through. That
that was the best way of showing it. But essentially, that was the move, just capitalizing on that high volume. And it ended up being a 1 to 2 risk to reward trade. I took my entry at 26. I want to say it was 26.89, around there, 26.89.6, and ended up with a 1 to 2 risk to reward trade there.
So the NAS has pulled back a little bit. I did not get stopped. We're currently bouncing off of my hourly level that we have, but we will see if she holds or breaks.
Live every day.
SPX failed yesterday. It's failing yesterday's high currently. US
We are
trade.
live Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. But I don't think that is the schedule that we're going to continue. I think Tyler knows a bit more about the future of the schedule.
Yeah, I think so. For right now, we're doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, New York, just till we kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. Eventually, this will, I'm sure, take a little bit of time, but eventually, we want to do 5 days a week, 2 hours during like the European/London session, and then we want to do 2 hours during the New York session. So this will probably take several months, but 6 months from now, we're hoping to be doing 5 days a week. 2 sessions a day, 2 hours a day, or 4 hours a day, 2 sessions. So if you trade, if you're international and you trade more like the London or European sessions, we want to have a stream for you guys as well. So, but yeah, so for now,
that sounds
Monday,
good.
Wednesday, Friday, but it will be increasing as we go. And to answer this question for you, I'm not 100% sure on Android. My guess is just search TradeLocker in the Android App Store. I would assume they have it for both Android and Apple, but I use an Apple phone, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I concur. Let's see.
So NAS spiked down enough and stopped me out of my position. That was pretty much. I had one of my trades. I had the position. The stop was in profits, and then one was in a small loss. So that ended up being pretty much break even for me. I was targeting a little bit higher. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get there. So if that happens, no big deal.
Yeah, I'm looking at longs on Nasdaq if we reject from this area, which we are currently doing.
Yeah, we're still holding this level I have here, so I agree.
Yeah.
I would be open to a re-entry as well, but I'm gonna give it a little bit. See what we have.
I want to get that 5-minute candle closure.
I think Brian might be hopping on. We're using TradeLocker because we're trading with FunderPro, which they did just add CTrader, but TradeLocker is just what I've used on FunderPro. I've never used.
Yeah, I love TradeLocker. It's so good.
Cam says he'll be back Tuesday.
Yeah, I saw that. You were
Wednesday,
talking before I put it up on the screen. I gave it a little whoop whoop.
Yeah, That'll be fun.
He'll be back with the fish.
So Amber, Amber said this how long it took me about 4 years to get consistently profitable with the best thing I ever did. Patience, consistency is everything. Totally agree. I think Kyron touched on this earlier, but Amber, tell us a little bit more. What do you like to trade? What's your style? Break down your trading for us a little bit more.
And how long has everybody been trading for? I personally been trading a little bit over. I'm coming up on like 5 years.
I'm 3 myself.
Yeah, I'm coming into my 4th, but I actually had a pause from trading, developing strategies and just coding for like 8 months. So I would say 3 years to be realistic.
I want to say I was studying for like a year and actively trading for about 4.
Did you trade during the study, like having a class and just sitting with the laptop?
Yeah, I actually stopped going to class. I just was to the point where
hey, you can do that as well.
Oh, hey, he went all in. He was like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I did. The only class I would go to is my economy class, and it just made sense. I don't know. I enjoy the economy class. The talks we would have, and it seemed like real world, effects. We were talking about something that actually I felt like mattered to the to the world. So it was enjoyable. But after that, after my second year of college, I had transferred to a different college, and they had me do like another intro to college course, and I just wasn't going for it.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, guys. I think Dad's gonna hop on the stream. Do you think Brian's gonna get mad at me if I call him Dad? Is he our streamer dad?
The stream dad.
He's our stream team dad.
No, I definitely do agree. I can't deny it there. I wish it would let me show my screen because gold, the reaction that we got off of gold from that 30-minute supply zone after having a 30-minute shift is quite nice, and we could potentially start to see that run to the downside. I wanted to see that move for gold simply because the dollar and EUR/USD alike were moving with volume in the sense, well, the dollar was pushing up, which would in turn push EUR/USD down, and I thought we could see some of that same volume transfer over to or translate, shall I say, over to gold, but it needed to push up to a higher structural level, and before we're getting the rejection that I would have ideally wanted to look for.
So you're looking at shorts on gold?
Yeah, only specifically if we can get a breakthrough like 2680 levels and then another corrective.
Oh yeah, the low there.
Yeah.
I would like to see.
I want to see this gap get filled for gold to the downside following this impulsive move that we had yesterday. I kind of want to see it get corrected.
Yeah, I think we could actually go bullish from the 2665 area, depending on it's pretty much the demand zone.
Yeah,
it's kind of far away. So
I wish NAS spiked underneath these kind of higher lows that we set this kind of support area here. I would have liked to see a spike, run some stops underneath there, and then get back up above the level.
Kind of grab the liquidity below.
That looks like a good 5-minute engulfing push.
Yeah, I know.
That we're getting right now.
Considering
Trade Zone FX said he's been trading for 7 to 8 months. How do you feel like your experience has been with trading for these past 7 to 8 months?
Ooh, but the NAS closed. That's a bearish engulfing on a 15-minute. That's the only downside I see.
Yeah, it's a mixed signals. So
I don't want to trade against like that big of a candle, to be honest.
So what Samuel's referring to is we're looking at this 5-minute candle, which is a very bullish engulfing candle. Like it took out the lows of this candle and the highs of that candle. It totally engulfed that candle. That's what that means, right? And then if you look at the 15-minute though, the 15-minute before that was a bearish engulfing candle, meaning that we're getting some mixed signals between the time frames here, which makes things a little bit tricky. I've been saying this. I wouldn't be surprised for some digestion consolidation among the indexes after we had the really big move up from the election night So if we get some rangy, choppy action, that will not be surprising to me at all.
Yeah, I think we're going to range as well. I don't think we're going to break any
And
highs or
today's
lows.
Friday too. I'm generally not. I don't know how you guys feel personally about trading Fridays, but I generally am more hands-offish on Fridays, or I'll reduce risk, just simply because, like you said, most of my best trades I have to hold for a couple hours, which would tie into sometimes New York to Asian session through London session, things of that nature. And so not being able to kind of hold past that 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time mark is sometimes
Yeah,
can throw
there's
my trade.
so back to we talked about expo a little bit before, Kyron, and you can look at. I think there's like a performance by day,
Oh wow.
um,
Oh yeah, that would have been sick
performance by
too.
weekday, right? So uh, you can see that. So Thursday, for instance, is see what are we looking at here? So this is NQ Green Day average performance. So like Thursdays are typically the strongest day. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Friday's performance. But some of these I've looked before. Friday has a little bit of a weaker performance. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong section.
And it's crazy because sometimes on Friday on gold won't move for the whole
Yeah,
week
here
and
we
then
go.
have the exact move you want on Friday. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I had the session wrong. I had like the London 3 a.m. session wrong. But if you
Oh,
look
okay,
at if you
gotcha.
look at NAS, for anybody who's newer, I have futures. I have the NQ pulled up, but I reference NQ when talking about NAS, so one and the same essentially. But you can see, yeah, so the NAS, its slowest performing day is Fridays. So that I think that lines up with what we just said there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta
Trades
check
on
edge full out.
FX said it's hard sometimes. I just feel like sometimes I just feel like giving up, but I gotta keep going. I get that, man. And especially like if you don't have anybody to trade or talk to with, trading could be a lonely journey. That's kind of why you have to have, you want to place yourself in a trade community like how you are now, where you can be around traders who, are going through the things that you're going through, who have been through the things that you've been through, and you can learn and grow with them. Traders understand traders, so we all go through this journey, maybe in our own, well, we all go through this journey in our own paths, but essentially we go through the same journey, so we can relate in that instance. What are some of the biggest emotional triggers for forex traders, and how do seasoned traders handle these moments while making impulsive decisions? I struggle with this a lot. So I think that well, the biggest emotional trigger for forex traders, it just depends on who you are. I think the two biggest emotional triggers are two that are talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's fear and greed. So those
Speaking
are
of
the
that,
two triggers that I would say would cause most people to, or especially beginner traders, to maybe make some impulsive decisions that might not be good. And how it differs from experienced traders is just limiting the impulsive decisions, trying to take um the emotion away from it. That's kind of why, like, certain different hacks. Like for me, I talk in percentages instead of money, because percentages to me helps calm my nerves. So I could say that I'm up 3% today. Well, on my 200K funded account, that's $6,000. If you say I'm up $6,000, it has a little bit more of an emotional attachment to it. So I would say that that's one of the biggest things. But traders of all levels deal with their emotions. I want to say that the most experienced traders just don't allow them to affect them, affect their trading and their technical analysis or whatever their strategy is. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think that the feeling never go away. The impulsive thinking of like,
Yeah.
oh, I could enter here, oh, I could make a lot of
yeah,
percentage here. I just think that the difference between a seasoned trader and the beginner is that the beginner actually acts on the emotion, whilst the seasoned trader just looks at it and be like, oh, that would have been a great move. Screw it,
yeah,
I'm out. I'm doing gym. I'm going skateboarding, whatever.
yeah.
So it just depends on how much experience you have with it, and also how much you are willing to. I think it also has to do with how much you trust your system. If you've been trading
Mm.
for a while and you know your strategy works, you know what your rules are, you have defined rules, etc., I don't think you're gonna act as much as when you're strategy hopping or like testing out the market. So once you're like comfortable with your strategy, with yourself, I don't think that's gonna be much of an issue unless you're actually acting on it.
Yeah, and I would
I
say
think.
one of the biggest things. Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just gonna say, like, what he said is, that never really goes away, but experienced traders just kind of understand that, like, there's always another opportunity coming. I think that's the best way to kind of curb your FOMO a little bit is like the market presents endless opportunity. There will be another opportunity coming, so don't, try not to beat yourself up over one missed trade or anything like that.
Yeah, and what I think what Samuel said was that was important too is like, experienced traders will just, go, like he said, snowboarding or go gym and not just sit in front of the charts all day. I think that a lot of people really hurt themselves by seeing a missed opportunity and then revenge trading and over leveraging in that moment, and it can lead to like a spiral. And so just having the discipline to be able to say, you know what, like, especially if you miss a move, that was the biggest thing for me. If you miss a move, wanting to take a move after that and then wind up losing, having the discipline to be able to walk away or look at what the move should have been. Where should I have taken an entry? Where should my stop loss have been set? Would it have worked out in my favor? Good. It's gone. I'll wait for the next opportunity. But I think the biggest thing would just be, taking a step back in those times. You know what I mean? It just doing something else. And as a full-time trader, that was one of the things that I had to learn the hardest is like your time is free, at this point. At least for me, like I don't have any true responsibilities, outside of my business or whatnot. But my time is free, so you could just literally sit here all day,
Yeah.
every day. Just like it was draining for a while, so I had to find
Yeah.
something to do else in the time. That's why I skateboard. I create videos on trading, something that keeps me still in the space, but just not actively on the charts.
Well, guys, I did take a stab at NAS, and kind of the reason being was SPX and US30 were both looking just like gorgeous, breaking out super strong above yesterday's high. So I thought NAS might be able to play a little bit of catch up, even though, like Sam and I talked about, we kind of expect some range and chop consolidation. But the SPX and US30 strength is what gave me the want to try one more stab at this. So this will be, I actually got to hop off here, but this will be my last trade. But just want to tell you guys that's why I got back in this trade. We held this level, right? We had this 5-minute strong close, and then in conjunction with the other indexes showing some nice strength. So that's it for me. We got Dad on the street now. Hey, Dad. How you doing, Brian? Everybody, you weren't here Wednesday. This is Brian. He streamed with us on Wednesday. So he's going to hop in for me. I'm going to take off. But trade safe. Enjoy the rest of your trading day, guys. And we'll talk to you soon. Oh, I'm going to throw your screen up there too, Samuel. So as I'm going to hop off.
All right,
there we go.
All right, guys. Good luck, everybody. Trade safe.
Take care. See ya.
See you, boys.
So, Trade Zone, what do you, if you don't mind my asking, what do you feel like is something that you could improve on? I think trading is all about learning and growing. What do you feel is something you improve on? And you as well, Sarky, what do you feel that, and all of you guys, what do you feel that is one thing that you think you can improve on? Even if it's something that you deeply, deeply struggle with. For me personally, it was just, we talked about it a little bit last session, not closing my trades early. I think that was one of the biggest things that kept me around break even as a trader, but just going through. And as we, as you guys begin to fill your answers here, I want to ask you, Sam, what are you looking at here?
Well, currently I'm just marking out the initial zone that me and Tyler discussed, which was basically the demand zone down here. I don't know, can you tell if my screen is lagging or is it fine?
No, it looks fine.
Okay, good. So basically this was the only thing that made me kind of hesitate was this one. It's a
Yeah.
Very, very big engulfing candle that is bearish, and it closed very bearish inside the demand zone. And that caused a red flag for me to kind of sit this one out. But the thing I wanted to actually wait for was the initial reaction down here, which we actually got with a big engulfing candle. And what I usually, this is actually a very, very good trading hack if you want to know. An engulfing candle that actually closes above. I'm going to zoom in so everyone can see. I know you trade, Karen, you trade pretty much break of structure with, highs and lows. So this is kind of a thing that I learned a while back ago with, actually can't remember who taught me this, but an engulfing that closes above a high like this is actually a break of structure because this is actually a high. So if you scale down to the 1 minute, you can see here, this is actually the break, which we got here. And actually above here, if you want to be more specific. So that was the only thing I was looking at. And then, as I've mentioned before, I usually look at discounts and premiums. And if we place from low to high a regular Fibonacci retracement, you can see that it aligns with the previous high that could become support. So it broke above, came down and retested. We actually got an engulfing here from the 1 minute. However, I do want to know, I don't trade a 1 minute because it's just, for me, it's just not my style. It's too much, it's too fast paced for me. But here you can see it reacted to the previous resistance that became support, aligned with the 50% Fibonacci. So I am interested in this, but I'm just playing out that, in my head that I eventually took this trade, even though I didn't due to the 50-minute. So I'm just staying out watching this.
I think that's good, especially coming off of that, like you said, that 15-minute candle bearish volume, to just kind of just watch how it plays out and not necessarily take an impulsive trade and just, mentally take the trade and just see, because it does go based off of structure. But with the current volume, you don't want to be, especially on a Friday. Me personally, I had a good week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing that kind of scared me the most was we had a range up here with the 2125 level ish, with the point of interest, even from market open during Asia session. And kind of this range became the point of interest. And this reaction for me doesn't mean, it doesn't scream secure bullishness for me. It's not very confident market structure. So once we get this rejection and then coming and rejecting here, as Tyler mentioned, I think we're going to have a lot of, especially now, as you mentioned, it's Friday. So we could actually potentially range here, in my opinion.
Yeah. Brian, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, doing good. I'm like you. On Fridays, it's not a go hard, go strong day. I have a habit of entering a few trades sometimes on Fridays, but I try to not do that.
I hear that.
And after the call it the Trump trade from the U.S. elections the other day, I still feel like, I'm a gold trader, so I feel like gold is doing a rebalance of itself right now. I did enter a short not too long ago, but that was just because the price of gold hit one of my supports, and it looked like it was going to maybe flip into resistance. It did. I don't know how much of a trade it's going to be, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely good to hear that.
I almost didn't want to put a trade in the entire week. That was my view last Friday.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad thing. There's weeks, a lot of times, days and weeks where I won't take a trade, especially if I'm coming off of a high volatile week, or I have a good green week, kind of taking that break on the next week, or just any week that's slow in volatility, or, in times where we have like elections. Normally I wouldn't trade, that type of, volatility and news, but, was able to secure one trade yesterday. I don't think I took too many trades before that this week. I think I only taking 3 trades maybe this week. which is kind of on par with what I normally would do. But I didn't trade, I don't think, Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday or one of the two, something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And when you were asking or answering the questions a moment ago on, new traders, or y'all were giving your advice, it's something that I'm doing right now, and I did yesterday. So, this week overall, I wasn't going to trade. So, on my live account, no trades. But what I would have told my younger self is to set up multiple accounts for different types of trading, not necessarily strategy, but I feel like when you're a newcomer to trading, you have several emotions that you go through. So whether you're trading a demo account or your own funds, or whether it's a $500 account, so I have multiple accounts that I trade based on that. So if it's a super serious day, well then I'm on my best account. I'm all guns are firing. But on a day like today, it's a low dollar value account. If I wanted to trade some of that run and gun stuff on Tuesday, Wednesday, then I trade it on an account that I don't care if I lose it. Certainly not going to be real money, but I do believe in the practice. So that's what I would go back and tell myself. I would have sort of a, there's all times that we feel like a gunslinging gambler, and that's when it's best, go down to like a $200 account and just, experiment if you want to. Get that out of your system. That's what I do. If I want to take a risk and learn something, I definitely learn better when I'm actually executing the trade, as opposed to paper trading. Paper trading doesn't really do it for me because I want to go through the hand keyboard motions of the trade.
No, I agree with that one. Especially with like trading, you can kind of, especially with the paper money, you can kind of gamble and get away with it. You don't get the emotional experience and patience and discipline. So it's a whole different game.
Especially find an account value that doesn't bother you, like, oh, I want to put my stop loss so far back, but I'm afraid that would be too much of a loss. You're trying to figure out your risk to reward ratio, and a lot of that, your emotions come into play. I think you should start trading on a dollar value that you feel comfortable with losing.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to be comfortable with losing $200. When you're on a 200K account or something high like that, well, it starts becoming nothing. So I benefited a lot by being on a $2,000 or $5,000 account, and losing 10 or 20. It just doesn't faze me.
Exactly.
Write down the lesson. So
yeah, but that's what good with the prop firms. But the downside is that most people, especially like new traders, they buy the 100K and 200K challenge, and they risk like 1,000. Let's just say 1 or 2% per trade. It's gonna cause so much emotional imbalance that you're gonna eventually just lose it. So as you said, you have to kind of like start somewhere. Especially like $200 is a perfect start for someone.
Yeah.
Even just going with like 0.5 or 0.05 the risk, it's so much better.
Definitely agree.
It's coming back down.
And recently,
I think we're gonna range here.
My older self is starting to get more in the habit of trading different accounts for different strategies nowadays.
Oh yeah,
so, we were talking about a strategy much earlier today before this live stream, and I'm seriously considering just taking a completely separate account I haven't traded on and just go with that strategy.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with the Funder Pro account. I'm actually trying to do the cam strategy, or you named it some funny thing. I don't know. It was a very long name you named. Yeah, this market is kind of hard to read. I don't like this market when it's kind of like making highs, breaking highs.
Yeah.
Just coming
what
back
are you
down.
on? You're on NAS, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the NAS.
Gold is pulling back. It was in such a strong uptrend for the longest time, but in 4 hours, it's been pulling back since the end of October. It started pulling. It's doing retesting on every level right now. One of the trade methods that I've been practicing with and actually started today is and very similar support and resistance, supply and demand zones like you guys have been demonstrating, but working on momentum when volume is adjusting through those key levels of mine. So today I began a new account with just one strategy of trading a little bit different version of momentum. So meaning I'm going down and executing off a 5-minute chart, but my practice has normally been executing off the 30-minute or 15-minute charts. So a little bit different to me, but I've heard you guys talking a lot lately about the lower time frames on executing on those. So taking some of the information I've learned from you guys recently, just as we talk, and trying something a little bit new.
Yeah, I agree. I do the same thing with kind of my experience. I usually, like, before we started talking in the group, I can actually show some examples. Some of my trades are basically on goal, especially.
Mm-hmm.
I usually enter of like I don't go lower than 15 minutes to find an entry. So for example, I just mark out supply and demand zones and combine with like reactions. Sometimes I actually dive down to look at divergences or like these situations. But I just want to keep it simple and not make it too advanced. But once pretty much Cameron and everyone in the group started, showing off the 5-minute entries and even 1-minute entries, I've actually back tested it on my previous trades and it kind of works. It's just a bit of, I have to adapt a bit because it's much more fast paced, especially the 1 minute. So it's kind of hard to adapt, but I'm getting there. Yeah, it's not looking very good for either.
But it definitely simple over complex. And back on that new trader concept, a lot of traders mistakenly believe that complex strategies are necessary for success. And in reality, the market is simple, right? It only moves in 3 directions: up, down, and sideways. And making simple strategies is to me more key. I think they're more effective. A market that only moves in 3 possible ways doesn't deserve an over analysis of it. And personally, I've always been better with smaller strategy technicals,
Yeah.
And it's the game of, have you heard of the game of twos?
No, I haven't. Maybe I should have.
It emphasizes that trading can be broken down into pairs so that you stay simple and not complex on your strategy. So it simplifies the decision making. But it's the game of two. So you have like 2 actions, which is buy or sell. You have 2 dominant trends, which is up and down. You have 2 market states, narrow or wide for the market states. You have 2 key moving averages that people typically go by if you use moving averages, somewhere low like the 20, something high like the 200, to know when you're in or not in a trend. So it's the game of twos. And those, that's how simple the market is. There's all sorts of things I think run through a person's mind when you're asked the question, what advice would you give a new person? It's like, well, here's everything I overthought.
That's how it is.
I don't know if I could tell you what to do unless I literally let you copy my trading, but I could tell you thousands of things not to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think for me, that's always one of the hardest things, is kind of trying to tell somebody in one sitting, what it is that, because I got asked a question. Somebody asked me the other day, how do I get started in trading? And that's always a hard question for me to answer, because there's so many different things that you would have to learn. And realistically, I wouldn't have had enough time or, energy to put every little detail of what you would need. So I just told them to, focus on, being disciplined, patient, and then learning what price action is and just how to, read these charts. I think that's one of the important things. But in terms of, like you said, Brian, and how to show you how to trade, you would have to literally sit and kind of go through all the past data that I had and or join these lives and things of that nature. Like it would take a lot to kind of show everything because the markets, they're constantly changing. So it's like you would have to, be able to adapt with those changing markets. So it's not really a straightforward answer that I feel like I could ever give.
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that is I think one of the big reasons why everyone is making trading complicated. I don't know. I think you guys have heard of him, ICT.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much a guy that comes out says he programmed the algorithm behind the market. And especially if you're coming in as a young kid or young adult, 18 years old, you're not going to want to go for the simple 60-70% win rate moving average strategy. You're going to go for the fair value gap 100% strategy that everyone pretty much promotes. So it has to do with, finding what's actually working in the market and actually not buying everything that every YouTuber is saying. 90% strategy, I mean, it could work, but you have to adapt very much. You have to have a lot of knowledge, knowing which trade to go in and not go into. So I think it's the industry standard. Yeah.
Have you guys ever tried aiming to lose? The theory that when you get on a streak of losses, you've bound to have done it, right? You're it's like no matter what I'm doing, I'm just losing. Maybe you're trying to learn a new strategy, you just got it wrong, it's not perfected yet, whatever the reason. But I heard it from somebody else. But aiming to lose exactly a certain amount, so like literally go try to lose $100, and the trick is you'll probably win $100 in a trade.
I think the opposite works too, because if you try to win $100, you definitely go.
That's where it comes from. Yeah, that's where it comes from. It stems from that theory. It's if you're on a losing streak, that's how I read about it. If you're on a losing streak, then regardless of the account size, go try to lose a small amount just to take your mindset to a different universe. It's like a
reverse psychology almost.
Yeah. So I've tried it. I've tried it as recent as last week, and I can't do it. So it messes up my thought because then I find myself overthinking because it's backwards of everything I've ever taught myself.
Yeah, I would never try that. That would mess me up so bad. Like coming from a losing streak, trying to lose another trade, like purposely trying to lose and just winning it. That would be so frustrating.
Yeah. But it only works if you're having a bad, I mean, I don't know that I would go in there and say, okay, normally this candle just broke that candle, so now I'm going to go long. Now I'm going to go short. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Pretty much it's hedging, going both long and short.
Yeah.
If we take a look at your NAS on that smaller time frame, we can see that it really just is ranging after tapping into that larger time frame area of interest. Nothing necessarily that would be too eager to execute on.
I actually like this. I actually just saw this. I don't know what's this called. I think everyone calls it differently, but it's like a 3 inside up or something. If any of you know the term, but it's basically a down candle or bearish candle close, and then you have a point of interest, which in this situation would just be here, and then the candle that closes within the body of this, and then the next candle actually closes outside. So it's like a version of engulfing. If you go into an engulfing candle, you can see like on the lower time frame, if this was a 5-minute engulfing, this one can be like the 1-minute structure within that engulfing.
Got you.
And I've actually seen this repeatedly everywhere in the market, especially in the stocks as well. It's everywhere I see it.
Yeah, I have to take a look at it more myself, and we'll have more opportunities to talk more about it in the coming weeks, especially even tomorrow. So
yeah,
this will I am just not eager with these current market volume. I think Monday session
stopping.
Yeah, even likewise with gold, we're just kind of stuck in this area. slow, low volume following an impulsive move to the upside.
Yeah, I had this 15-minute marked up for a supply zone, but I actually didn't trade it because I don't want to short. I'm actually looking at like the 4-hour and daily for my pretty much is my overall bias. And once I see like we're in an uptrend, so the structure from low to high, I actually don't want to short unless we actually break this one. Like that's the signal for me that we're
And
going bearish.
that makes sense.
So I'm pretty much just trading, especially like with supply and demand. I want to trade below the 50%, as I mentioned before. And we're like at the 50%, and we're like rejecting, doing like indecisive ups and downs. So it's just
we're in that kind of deciding
phase
right in the market.
Yeah, exactly. It's either here we're gonna move up and shoot like this as a new support zone, something like this, or we could potentially see like this, or even just break further down. You know, it's in the indecisive move,
and then not a lot of volume to go with it as well. So I think that once price does decide which way it'll go, we'll start to see that volume pick back up, and it might not be today. You know, that could be something that we start to see at the beginning of next week. Asian session going into London session. I haven't checked any news events for next week, so I'm not quite sure what they have, you know, planned in terms of volume. I don't look at the news in terms of, you know, what the data is going to be and try to predict that. I just more so use it as a day. Okay, we can expect some volume on Wednesday, let's say. Let me see if I can't pull it up here on my screen, just on my side of things. So for next week, we have no news Monday, and I just look at so we have CPI, let's say on Wednesday. We have CPI on Wednesday. So Wednesday, I can expect that we will see some type of a high spike, high volume move. Is anybody in the chat? Do you guys personally trade Fridays? Are you in any positions? Do you trade positions over the weekends? I personally do not hold positions over the weekends. Samuel, do you generally take positions into the weekends?
I actually wanted to ask you guys this question also, but I actually never trade over the weekend due to the fact that it's so scary, because here in Sweden, the market opens at like midnight. So basically the market opens and the Asian session is basically where I sleep. So I have to wake up with like a whole session of market structure. And I don't want to wake up hitting like a stop loss. It would just be so unnecessary. Because I kind of want to monitor my trades, especially with the market open. Because I think the last time I actually held a trade open, it turned out well. It was actually silver when some geopolitical conflicts occurred. I don't want to name or like talk about the political stuff, but that happened during the weekend, and then the market opened and it just, you know, straight up to take profit.
Similar to kind of like what we've seen, not to cut you off, but similar to what we've seen this week on EUR USD, it opened with the gap, you know, and how these gaps are formed for anybody who might not know. And when a market opens on the weekend with a gap, if you can see, like,
I can pull it up here.
Yeah. So you'll see that gap right there. Yeah. So what happens is price reaches an area of interest over the weekend. So us retail traders, we actually can't trade on the weekends, but banks, they can enter positions. So we entered an area of interest for EUR USD, and we had a bullish move to the upside during the weekend, which caused for when the markets open back up for us, it to open with a gap. And one thing about gaps is they always get filled. So you can see kind of the impulsive move to the downside that we had that, you know, essentially filled that gap there and broke through. But for reasons specifically like that is why I wouldn't hold trades over the weekends. And then your stop loss won't get executed until the markets open back up too. So whatever price opens at, that's where, you know, you get that kind of execution at. So for me, it's just, and then a lot of the, you know, accounts that I trade, you're not allowed to hold, you know, at least on the funded side, trades over the weekend. And I personally like to be out all my positions Friday anyway. Brian, do you you ever hold over the weekend?
No, it's been a long time. I'm trying to remember the last time. What my fear is that gap. It's that I used to be confused on controlling my stop loss during the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out of it, if that spread jumps when Sydney opens,
Yeah.
then I believe that can stop you out. So I would drop my stop loss out, knowing the market, it's going to spread back kind of. But once it finds liquidity, but I've seen enough back testing where that spread closes up, liquidity is found, and it's far away from where I'm at. And I learned that on my actual private capital fund.
Gotcha.
Like that's the hard way to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trade Zone FX says sometimes he trades on Friday.
Yeah.
Short Buzz asked a question though. He said, "Hey guys, what is your thought on passing a 50K account? How would you go about trading plans and mindset to trading it? I've been learning about 6 months, but trying to find my edge." So one thing that I would say personally, if you're still trying to find your edge, then maybe to, not take a 50K challenge. And I only say that in terms of, you still want to work out your strategy. If you're already set in your strategy and what you do, and I'm the type that I jumped into it before I was really, set to. So that in and of itself can be a learning lesson. But how I would go about it is I take every trade at 1% of the total account balance. So you're on a 50K account. I would take every trade at 1% risk to unless, and I think we kind of talked about it privately, unless I go into a 50% drawdown of my actual not the account balance, but 50% drawdown of your overall limit. Once I get into that, then I'll scale it down to 0.5% risk. In terms of the mindset, I'm looking for Funder Pro specifically. So I have a Funder Pro account. So for the Funder Pro account specifically, I want to take at least, I think it's you can't have more than 45% in a single day. So I'm looking to take my target is 14%. So I'm looking to take, I think it was like 5 or 6, 1 to 2, or no, 1 to 3 risk to reward trades. So specifically aiming for trades that will at the very least give me a 1 to 3 risk to reward is what I like to go off of when I'm in the challenge phase. Now, as I'm one that I just take what the markets give me. So if it's just a day that only offers a 1 to 2, I will still take it, likely at a scale down because my profit potential isn't as high. But that's essentially how I would go about it. So Samuel and Brian, you guys can kind of chime in on how you go about your own individual, passing of your accounts.
Yeah, I think my system is pretty much like yours. I pretty much just trade supply and demand with some confluences here and there. I have like a C setup, a B setup, A setup, and then an A plus setup that I go for. But I usually tend to risk 1% at the start of a funded account, and I have a set risk reward which is 1 to 3. That's it. But sometimes if it reaches like 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 2, I actually move up my stop loss to break even, depending on the structure. If there is something within pretty much my entry and my stop loss that could be like a new demand, I won't move it. But it depends on market structure. And as you said, if you go into a 50% drawdown, which is depending on what your firm is, but usually it's a 5%. I usually go for a 0.5 risk and just lower it, because then I have 10 more trades to trade. It's basically a reset until I'm back to break even. Then I tend to do the 1% again. So basically that's it. And the mindset, I would just say, treat it as a real job. Don't treat it as a hobby. Because if you treat it as a hobby and like go with the flow, oh, I'm feeling hot today in the market, I'm just going to buy short or whatever, it's not really going to go well. So if you treat it with patience and actually not trying to get the funded account within a month and actually see it as a long-term plan, I think you're going to do really good.
I'd say lower your lot size. 0.01.
Yeah.
0.01 lot size. When I'm testing out a strategy or doing something I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, but I want the energy of the real market, I'll do 0.01. I'll do 0.01 on a 200K account. you know.
Just to kind of, work through your strategy, build up that confidence early on.
Yeah.
Now, would
Yeah.
you generally, will you scale up after a certain point?
Certainly, absolutely. Go right back to then I'm looking at risk to reward, risking an entire 1% of the account. But 0.01, oh man, you're risking nothing like that. So
Yeah.
well, it
So I
depends on
think
your
that,
account size, I guess. But 0.01, go as low as you can go.
and just kind of knock those nerves out, practicing your system. Essentially, it's like almost, it's not equivalent to paper trading because you're actually executing on the live markets. But I think that
Exactly.
that's important too, because you don't want to. I always say, I generally, at least when I first started trading funding challenges and funding accounts, that first loss was always the hardest thing. Like, I just generally always wanted to get through that one because I knew I would be okay. My emotions would be riled up, especially if I was on a winning streak or something like that. And I've had times where I've been, near passing on a funded account and then go all the way back down to break even. And so it's just, kind of knocking that knocking the rust off, I guess you could say, just getting those jitters out, that fear out, and testing the system. I think that is definitely important too, especially going into the challenge. Helps build your confidence going in. And honestly, I always like to take my first trade that I take, I always want it to be like an A+ setup, because I like to start off a challenge with one. I like to start it off with a solid, because it just builds momentum for the rest of the challenge. I would say not to focus as much on the profit target, more so than just focusing on your trading. I like what Samuel said is true. Treat it like a business, treat it like a job. Don't go in there half-faced just thinking that you're going to pass the account, because essentially the goal of these accounts is not to pass. A lot of people get so caught up on passing the account. The real goal of this account is to hold it long term, to receive consistent payouts. That's what you want. And in order to do something like that, to have, like, me personally, I have 400K in funding that I've held for over, a year and some change. And in order to do that, you have to be consistent in your trading. So you don't want to just come at this any old kind of way, taking trades that are outside of your rules just to enter or just to hit a certain profit target. Just focus on trading as if you were trading, $1 million. That's kind of how I look at it. Take it seriously, only take the best trades, and be patient. The profits will come if you're doing the right things and you're executing on your strategy the right way, and the profit target will get hit. Don't try to time it. I want to pass this account this week, because that can force you into some emotional decisions, taking trades that may be outside of your strategy. Let the profits come. Just execute on your strategy consistently over and over again. I think that you'll see success with that.
That part I think is really good. Yeah. Don't give yourself a projection goal for the week or the day, or
Yeah, and early on I tried that. I thought I was just gonna make 2% a day for every day and compound it to XYZ. I drew up a whole chart and everything, and learned really quick that that's just not the reality of the markets. You can't try to squeeze out a profit from the markets. You got to react based on what the markets give you. So you just focus on executing in the individual day, whatever it is that may be, and going from there. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah. A while back, I just ceased to trade on Fridays because I became really tired of having a good trading week up to Thursdays. Friday, I have a bad trade day, and I enter the weekend in a bad mood, and I have to hold that bad mood all the way to Monday. So I just, Fridays didn't exist to me for a while there. I'm better now.
I agree 110%. And there would be some times where I would have a positive week, and one Friday would just ruin all the profits that I made for the week and go into the weekend.
I hate that.
Like you said, it's a sickening feeling.
It's not only a mood at that point, but you have a dollar amount like in your face. Loss.
And
You're up like
actually
5%. Friday you blow it.
That's actually one important thing to the one that asked that question about the funded account. Actually learning to manage like trading and your personal life in two separate things. It's so vital. Especially for me, I had such a hard time, as you mentioned, like losing on Friday, being like irritated and angry the whole weekend and just coming back to Monday with no motivation. And that brings pretty much such flashbacks for me, at least. I had such a bad timing with trading, at least before I got scammed on a lot of money from a broker, actually. And it just, sunk my whole energy. I was rude to people, family members. And, you got to separate the trading business with your personal life in order for this to work. Otherwise, it's going to pretty much eat you whole.
Yeah, and I think that comes into kind of like having something else that you could do when you walk away from trading.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think like for me, I lied to you not. When I first started trading is when I was skating the most, because, and this is how every skate session went. Me and my brother would skate every single day. I have a little brother. Well, I guess you could call him. He's technically my little brother, but he's bigger than me, and he's like 23 now, I think. So we skateboard every single day, and after a trading session, we would go to the skate park, we would sit in the car, and for like at least an hour before we go and actually skate, we would sit there and talk about all of our trades, like what we did right, what we did wrong. And then if it was a losing day skating, after we skate, it was like it didn't happen. And
Yeah,
another thing that
exactly.
I would do is take a nap. Like I would go to sleep after a losing trade or a losing day, because my emotions would be so riled up. And the only way I could think to reset is just to like go out to skating, because skating takes 100% of your focus. Otherwise, you won't be able to execute on tricks. So you don't even think about it. And then it's something that's fun and it's uplifting. And then you come back to the charts, you know what it is, and it just uplifts your spirit. So that was one like cheat for me, was just to find something else outside of trading, because it could be addicting. You could be sitting on these charts all day long, and if you're losing and stuff like that, it can really mess with your mentals. And that separation is if a losing trading day, and trying to separate that from your personal life, and that's difficult. That's definitely difficult. It's not the easiest, but I think me personally, just with experience, has gotten obviously easier, because you take more trades, you get used. Well, I'm not gonna say you get used to it, but when you take a loss, it doesn't hurt as much. It always hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much. We know we're gonna take another trade that can 2-3x whatever that loss is. So I never really feel too emotionally tied to one loss. The only time it'll ever really hurt you is if you don't manage risk. You lose more than what you expected to lose. And I think that's when risk management. One thing about the and I think we kind of all talked about it. One thing of coming into these funded accounts, the biggest thing that I learned is how to manage my risk. And I think that's one thing that new traders often put to the back end. A lot of people come into the markets with not a lot of money, and so they want to make a lot of money with very little capital. And so they build these bad risking habits of over leveraging their accounts, and I think it's called like beginner's trader's luck, where the first week you start trading, you win really good, and then the next week you lose it all. Like that personally happened to me on a demo account in a demo environment. But I can see how traders, fall into that. So the biggest thing with these funded accounts is you have to treat them like a business. And in order to do that, you got to manage your risk. That is the one thing that will, can make or break any of your trading accounts. You can have $300,000 and it takes one bad decision to wipe all of that away. So just making sure you manage your risk. And it'll help you emotionally, understanding that you, like what Brian said, using a 0.01, you feel better than if you were to be staking your whole account. That type of pressure and anxiety is rough. So I suggest highly, if you want to be a trader long term, to really focus on your risk management and get that dialed in.
Yeah, trade on a lower lot size like that. It's all about the decimal placement, right? I mean, if you win $10 or 10 cents, it's like, well, had you traded a different lot size, that could have been 100 or 1,000. The principles are the same.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing for me. And once I understood that 1% on a 1,000 or 100K account is $1,000, and then on a million that's 10,000, I was like, all I need is the skill. The money will come. And then funding companies came out, so it's like, man, I don't have to even use my own capital. Let's say I want to say one of my first accounts was the first account that I passed was a $500 account. And I used to, I spent the whole 30 at the time. You had 30 days to pass the account. So I spent the whole nearly 30 days trying to pass the account. And, it was going up and down and ended up passing on the very last day. It just so happened that it was an NFP Friday and EUR USD was in a perfect position. I was able to capitalize on that move. I literally did something that I wouldn't recommend for anybody, but it was the last day. It was back when you have those time limits and time
Yeah, the
constraints. And it was
30-day
like,
limits.
I'm gonna lose
It was
this.
so stressful, man.
Yeah, man. So it's like I'm gonna lose it regardless. So even though it was a great setup, I risked well more than what I would normally risk on the setup and wound up passing the account. And I want to say that account I had for 9 months until the firm shut down and made well over, 20,000-30,000 on that account alone at a $500 investment. So I really think it's important to focus on the long term. And then once you get to the funded stage, Funder Pro is kind of different because you can request your payout every single day. But I would, especially when I was trading other firms, is to take a trade or two, get into a payout profit and just wait for your payout. Like I know a lot of people who've had $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and just didn't have the mental patience to wait 30 days for a payout and lost it all. It didn't get to see a dime. And it's just, that's another thing. But with, Funder Pro, you don't have that problem. You take a good trade, you pull out your profits. And I always tell people once you get your refund, because you'll get a refund from, once you get a payout, you'll get your refund to reinvest into another account. You always want to continue to build your capital. I think that's what I would do, whether it's a smaller account or taking the, just the refund from your initial account and putting it back into another one to continue to grow and scale. That's how I was able to scale to, 1.2 million in funding throughout the past year. So I think that's kind of one thing that's important that I always tell people.
Did we answer this question here from Wizard?
Yeah, are there practice accounts at Funder Pro to get to use to the system before we purchase? I'm not too sure in terms of an actual Funder Pro practice account, but if you want to get used to using the system in terms of Trade Locker, opening a Trade Locker demo account would give you about the same thing in terms of learning the system and just learning how it all works. But I couldn't get you directly. I'm not sure either one of you could touch on it if we have that or not.
No, I'm not quite sure.
Not
we have to ask.
There's not a practice account.
Yeah. So
unless you consider your demo challenge your practice, but I would open up a Trade Locker. I think you can't you?
Yeah, go to Trade Locker and just download the app and then open up a demo account. I recommend anybody who's starting to trade to do that exact thing. Either whether you're starting to trade or you're testing out a new platform, to open up a demo account, get used to the system in and of itself. I really like Trade Locker. One thing that you guys can't see my screen, but one thing that Trade Locker allows you to do is to add your, you can take a trade directly from it. So you add your lot size, but to be able to drag your stop loss and take profit, that's one of the things that for me was just like super beneficial. And then the integrated Trading View platform, I mark all my charts on Trading View. So I literally set up my Trade Locker account to look exactly like my Trading View in terms of my favorite tools and things of that nature. So opening up a Trade Locker demo account and just executing and practicing on that will give you the same results as what we are trading here at the Funder Pro and those Funder Pro accounts. Especially if you don't want to get your capital involved, you want to test your system. I think a demo account is great for trying new strategies, getting just understanding and learning the new system.
Funder Pro had free trials for a while there, and they were discontinued. So some people might be getting past news, about that. So Funder Pro used to have it, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, how much do you actually trade per week? Because once I got in this group, I actually was surprised, since a lot of people take trades daily. I actually trade 3 to 5 trades a month. That's what I'm actually used to. So now with the cam strategy every day, it's kind of a shock for me, at least.
Yeah, so I generally take about, like you say, and it depends for me on the market, right? So I'll take, anywhere from maybe 3 to 5 trades a week at times, but there's a lot of times where I want to say on average I take about 2 to 3 trades a week. Just depending on what the market volume is, and I'm an intraday trader, so looking for smaller time frame moves to smaller time frame targets. Kind of like you said, you don't have to trade as often. I think I trade a lot of times more so as an educational thing, to create content because I have a business around it. So I not just educational, obviously I make money from trading, but you don't need to. So that's why I divvy with different accounts when I do. Trade one account here for a week and then trade another account, just so that I kind of keep that deviation. But in terms of taking actual trades in a week, it's generally about maybe 3 trades a week is where my average kind of sits at.
How about you, Brian?
0 to 6.
Yeah,
I have the patience to not trade in a day, and if my setups are occurring and I happen to slept well a day or two before and I wake, I get up early because I do try to target the London session where I can, even though I'm in the US. My hours are a bit different for that reason, but if I see a setup occurring during Asia, if I see a setup occurring in London or New York, I tend to take it. Something we were talking about earlier, depends on the strategy. Which account am I using? Am I using one of my funded accounts? Am I using one of my demo accounts? It just depends. Some of my trading logs would look. I go and I review them and I compare strategy results side by side, and can see when I'm starting to I'll do testing in a live market. Well, in a demo challenge account, I will.
Yeah.
And then that I could do tons of trades because maybe I'm practicing scalping. But in a controlled sense, I mean 0 to 3 a day if I'm locked in on a strategy.
Yeah, Trade Zone FX says he takes 2 trades a day. That's kind of where I was at. For real, honestly, for me, I used to take more trades in a day, and I wound up like I want to say for like a 3-month period, I would take like 3 or 4 trades, or I want to say like 4 or 5 trades in a day. And the first 2 trades would be great trades. The next 3 will wipe out all of that profits and wind me up and draw down. And one thing that I learned, or I was heard from Roger Banks, is he said 1 to 2 trades a day. And so I was like, to have the discipline to take 1 to 2 trades a day, what that does to you is it makes you more particular about the trades that you will enter. You won't take as many trades that don't abide by your system because you only have 1 to 2. So you're looking for your best setups in an individual day. So I think that 1 to 2 is great. And it helps you in terms of discipline, taking 2 losses and being able to walk away, Right. And how I see it is protecting yourself for another trade a day. Like live to trade another day is what I always say. So you take, 1 or 2 losses in a day. That was it. That was all I had to risk for today.
Yeah.
No matter what the market does, it doesn't matter. Turn the computer off. Let's go do something else and come back tomorrow.
Live, die, repeat.
Yeah. So, and just it lets you to come back to the markets with a fresh mind. Your emotions, despite wherever you're at in your journey, your emotions do get heightened when you're winning or when you lose and things of that nature. So to be able to just force yourself and have the discipline to take that break will help you, not slip into revenge trading and things of that nature. And kind of just having like strict rules about, your trading and your execution. But Sam, to talk to your point about how you only take, 3 to 5 trades in a month, that's what I'll look to do as I start to trade larger time frames. I think that in the next couple of years, I'll shift from trading the smaller time frame, not wanting to be as actively on the charts, spend more time traveling, things of that nature. Look to trade a larger time frame. And, I used to trade the 4-hour in the daily and trade in that direction, and I would hold trades for a week or 2. It just wasn't conducive to passing challenges in 30 days, so I had to switch up the system a little bit, which kind of drew me towards scalping. So then that's kind of how that originated. But I do want to be able to take it back, because being able to hold for larger time frame moves, for instance with the gold markets, gold is constantly creating all-time highs, even on a daily, weekly time frame. Gold is a currency where a lot of people invest in hard times. So just from September to now, I want to say gold went from being at like 2,500, around 2,500, all the way up to nearly 28. We tapped into like 2790, and that's just in the previous month. But if you look over the past years, gold has just continued to climb higher. So I want to be able to have positions like that where I not necessarily hedge, but just hold for a longer time and scale in more on a kind of an investment side. I always think of larger time frame trading like that as more of an investment than an actual trade, because I'm just looking for, it's not, I will enter at an area of interest, obviously, in a pullback zone, but just looking for larger time frame targets on the same market structure, essentially. So I think that that's what I want to transition into doing.
I think we're getting close to our
time here. So is there any questions that anybody may have before we end? We will be back again next week, Monday, I believe, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. So be sure to tune into the lives then. Obviously there will be a lot of value to provide. We'll hopefully have some tradable markets. Today was kind of a slower session in terms of market movement, but coming into the weekend, these are kind of things that you expect. And as we show up more and more, we'll likely start to see this pattern, unless it's an NFP day or things of that nature. But before we disconnect here, is there any questions, anything that anybody wants to say? We greatly appreciate you for tapping in and joining us for this stream session. It's very valuable to us for you guys to show up and ask questions and be active. It's fun. It makes it fun for me, at least, for when you guys are active. So I appreciate each and every one of you that showed up today here for this stream.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have any ending questions, any last remarks, Samuel, Brian?
No, nothing in particular for me. Wait, did my voice just disappear?
No, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I got a call and my headset just started connecting to the call. So
no worries.
But nothing for me. For me, it's very fun to actually do these kind of lives and interact with the chat. And also a reminder, if you have any questions or anything you would like us to do, you can always pretty much just leave a comment on either YouTube. I think these videos are uploaded on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, and we also have Instagram as FunderPro. Yeah, we have it on YouTube. Perfect. Well, nothing more from me.
I broke the seal on a 25K account today, so I'm up $52.
Oh, sounds
Let's
good.
go.
Sounds good. I definitely want to hear how that did you execute? Did you close the trade already?
It's still open. I closed half of it.
Okay.
But when I got the time I was coming on.
Definitely next time we get on here, we'll have to talk about the results and how what your process was in entering the trade. That's a good trade.
And it was a breakout candle around 26.90 on gold. So I started shorting,
like Wizard TP said. I agree 102%. Green is green.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's live stream, and we will see you guys in the next live stream. The schedule will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same exact time that you guys were seeing it here today. For me, that's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. But if you turn the post notifications on the FunderPro YouTube, you should be notified every time we go live. So just make sure you do that, and we will see you guys next week. Hope you guys trade safe. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.